So many new people are coming into One Piece right now, learning how to play the game, and today I'm sharing with you my ultimate guide on starting the One Piece TCG from scratch. My name's Graded Noah, and I started playing One Piece over 3 years ago, and I absolutely love the game, and at some point in time, I hope you will too. Now, I won't go over all the rules and how to play because Bandai already made an excellent video about that a few years ago, and if you don't know how to play, definitely check it out. The link will be down there in the description, but I will just say that the One Piece card game is easy to learn, but hard to be competitive in, hard to be really good at. And that's because there's a lot of nuances within the game, when to attack your opponent's characters, when to attack their life, when to take hits to your life, when to counter out of hits to your life, stuff like this. And the best way to get better at them early on is just by playing more games. Beyond that though, it's by watching competitive players play, and it's by watching creators who have made specific videos designated to strategy and mechanics of the game. I like to watch creators like Ikai Lakai, Real Joshua, Min Hootie. These guys have made some great videos about strategy within the game and how to play better, so once you're at that point, definitely give them a watch. Once you know the rules, you're probably excited to play, but how do you do that exactly? Now for some of you, the best solution might be by playing with your friends. Like, I've been playing One Piece with my friends for years. Almost every single week we get together either in person or online to play, but let's say you don't have friends who play the One Piece card game and you do want to play in person. Well, then you can use Bandai's TCG Plus app either on your phone or on their desktop site, and you can search your location, your region, and find out where games are being held at local card stores. So let's take Chicago for instance. If we search Chicago, there's a whole list of card stores that come up. For you, there will be a lot less unless you're in a big city like this, but you can just check out which specific card shop you want to go to, and you can apply on there, show up the day, the time that you need to, and play then. But some of you guys might not be able to play in person, or you just want to be able to play online when you can't play in person. And that's fair. Like, online's a great place to practice, and you probably have no idea how to do that. Well, Bandai doesn't make their own client for playing One Piece. I don't really get why they don't. It's been a few years at this point. I would think that they would have something equivalent to Pokemon's app or even better. But that being said, a lot of community members out there have made their own clients. Batsu is one of them. I've been using his client for years. It is the OP TCG Sim. I highly recommend it. It's really good, it's free, and it's pretty easy to use. Now the thing is, you got to download it from his Google Drive. That might seem sketchy, but like, I always virus scan. It's never been a problem for me. And once you have it, it just updates regularly through the app. So, and he'll push out updates whenever he needs to for new sets that come out, for new cards that come out. So you'll never have to worry about not being able to play with the new stuff. And online's great because you can face off against a variety of decks that you might not see in person at your local card store. And you can also play a whole bunch of different decks pretty quickly to see which one you like best. And you can even face off against yourself, which can be sometimes a really good way to learn how to play the game better. But for me, I like to play in person the best. I know that sometimes online I will misclick, and then it's like, well, there goes the whole game. I messed up, it's ruined. But in person I won't misclick. That being said, sometimes I forget to use certain abilities in person, whereas it reminds me to do that on the client. So, you know, there's plus and minuses to both. So you know how to play and you know where to play, but you might not know what to play. And that's fair because there's such a variety of One Piece decks out there right now that are in the meta. And I think that's a good thing because usually you can find a deck that actually matches your play style. And some of you guys at this point might have starter decks already, which these are actually fantastic for what they are, so much better than Pokemon starter decks. They've got some good cards in them, but at the end of the day, they're still a pre-built deck. The decks that are going to win you tournaments are going to be constructed decks, decks that synergize cards from across sets or across starter decks altogether. So those decks we're going to look at in a second, but before we get into specifics, I want to talk about the different colors in One Piece decks. So there are 6 different color cards in One Piece. You've got red, green, blue, purple, yellow, and black. And all these different colors are going to have their different characteristics. Like red is usually aggressive, where you have rush. Yellow's going to have sustain, where you add life. And black's going to have more of a control based, where you KO characters or also just freeze characters to control your opponent's board. But all these different colors have characteristics from the other colors at some point in time, so they kind of bleed into each other. It's not just a hard rule. That being said, there are different leaders with different card pools. So monocolor leaders can only get cards from one color, multicolor leaders can get cards from 2 different colors, and that means that the card pool is doubled, which is usually why the life is less than a monocolor leader, but not always the case. It really depends on the effects of those specific leaders. And for me, I generally play like red decks, green decks, yellow, blue decks. I don't usually play purple and black, but there are some exceptions to that. Like I like Enel and I like Yamato. Those are fun decks to play for me. So you guys might find that you really only like specific colors, which is why I highly encourage you to play a whole bunch of different colors at the start to figure out what you like. And if you do it online, it's cheap, it's free, you just have to pay for electricity. Now, if you're going to build a deck in person, I highly suggest you start off with a cheap deck because decks can be really expensive. So unless you have oodles of cash lying around, start out cheap. And we're going to be using this site, gumgum.gg, to look at the constructed decks that you guys are going to use. You probably don't want to build your own deck right away because you're not going to know all the different details and what the card pool is out there. So it's just, I think it's nice to just go with a constructed deck that you know has performed well. Specifically on this site, we can scroll through and choose the option for CS, which is Championship Series. These are like 512 player tournaments or bigger, which means these are going to be your regionals, and they're going to be highly competitive decks. So if we click on a deck like Purple Enel, you're going to see it's around 120 bucks. And honestly, that's a really good price for a deck. Because if we go back and we look at Blue Yellow Nami, it's going to be closer to that 350, 400 range. Same with the Boa decks. Now those are good decks, but they're really expensive to play. So I think that Enel deck is a great one to start out with, not only because it's cheap, but because of what you can do with the deck. It's so good, and the sequencing is really awesome. It can really help you learn how to play. It's a great deck to learn how to play, and it doesn't cost that much. Also, we can look at Yamato because Yamato is really cheap at around $60. This deck is mostly from OP16, has some really cool cards in it, makes it rush all the time. That's the leader's effect. So really good, again, for learning. And then our recent deck is this multicolored blue-green Luffy deck that is around $80 to $90. Again, very good deck, highly competitive. Definitely worth checking out. And the really cool thing about this is that if you want to try these decks out first online, you can just copy this and paste it into that OP TCG sim, and it's really seamless, very fast, and you're good to go, ready to find a match online. And last but not least, you know what cards to buy, but you don't know where to buy them. And even if you have a local card store, they probably don't have everything you need for your deck, so you're likely going to use a website such as TCG Player. I highly recommend TCG Player. Although lately I've had some issues where I've ordered near mint cards and they come moderately played or light played, but in those situations I just contact the sellers and we work something out, usually a partial refund or even a full refund. But TCG Player does have buyer protection, so in the end you are safe. And no, I'm not sponsored by them in any way, shape, or form. You can also use eBay. I do sell stuff on eBay, but I usually don't just buy things on eBay because TCG Player is just so much more convenient. And you guys probably want to know where you can buy sealed product. Great question. So for me, I've been able to buy product from my local card stores, but I understand that everybody else has the same situation I do. I mean, one of my best friends owns the card stores, so like I'm kind of spoiled in that sense. But I do like to go to Barnes & Noble. They have stuff on occasions, sometimes Target or Walmart as well. The biggest thing though is that Bandai just isn't producing enough product right now from my understanding to be able to get these out to the stores. They're adding a couple new suppliers in the near future with OP17. I'm hoping that they produce more product and they can really get it out on the shelves because I'd love to see the stores filled. So good luck out there. Hopefully it changes in the future, but in the meantime, just try to stick with some cheap decks. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, consider leaving a like or subscribing, or maybe even check out this video. I don't know what it is, but YouTube recommends it. Anyway, I'll see you in a couple days, but until then, adios.